Hey y'all, welcome back to KimchiRednecks. It's just gonna be me today. Chuck is at work and I am in the kitchen. So I thought I would take you along with me as I make my birthday cheesecake. My birthday's tomorrow, so I am whipping up a cheesecake for that. And today's experiment for that is going to be the crust, which will be made out of our Waffle Mate Korean snack. I'm super excited about that. It's going to take about 1.5 boxes of the waffles to actually create the crust, because I need about 1.5 cups, and I've already used my food processor to basically crumble up all of the crumbs for me, so I just want to give you guys that heads up. But today's cheesecake is going to be a New York style cheesecake that I've made 1 billion different times, so I will take you along with me and let you see that process. And again, we're experimenting with the crust. I don't think it's going to be an issue because it's pretty delicious and maybe a little less sweet than the normal graham cracker crust that we use, but since the cheesecake's already going to be super sweet and delicious, this might be the perfect complement. So I'm going to get everything set up in here and I will see you guys in just a second. Okay guys, so what I've got here is our 6 tablespoons of butter. It is melted. I've got our 1.5 cups of Waffle Mate crumbs, I like saying that word, and 1/2 cup of sugar. I'm going to grab a fork and then I'm just going to mix that all together really quick. Now what you'll notice over here, or maybe you won't because maybe it's a little farther off, but that's my springform pan over here. It is already completely covered in Reynolds wrap because I do a water bath with my cheesecakes that kind of helps prevent some of the cracking. The only thing left for me to do in that is to spray that with Crisco to make sure it doesn't stick. But let's get this mixed up really quick. So what I'm aiming for at this point is just to make sure that all of the butter is mixed in really good and that I've got all of this mixed in well, so that when I go to put it in the pan that it'll just form right on down into the pan. Alright, so I'm going to spray my pan here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and add that into the pan. And here's where I come. Sometimes we use my hands, sometimes we'll use something like this to just kind of start patting it down. The main goal at this point is just to get the crust spread completely on the bottom here, so that you have a pretty decent crust, but also even. You don't really want pieces of it to be more or thicker in some places than in others. You want it all to be relatively even, just because an even crust makes a better looking cake, and also just all around better cake in general for cheesecake. So some people will use glasses to kind of, like a hard heavy highball glass, to kind of press it down. I tend to find I do better using hand. And the main goal is just to press it all completely down so it covers the bottom and it's basically a solid crust. So as you can see, those little pieces I just brushed off back in, we have a solid crust. It is now going to go into the fridge and it's going to be in there for about 15 minutes while we prep the other part of the cheesecake. So next up, we're going to be using my favorite kitchen appliance, my KitchenAid mixer. We are going to be making the New York style cheesecake, the actual filling for the cheesecake. So the very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to get your cream cheese, and I've had this out at room temperature, so it's relatively soft at this point. So I'm going to grab my cream cheese and start adding it into the bowl. It takes 4 of the 8-ounce bricks of cream cheese, and as I put mine in, I do like to scrape the pack just to make sure that I get every bit of the cream cheese goodness out of here. So that's just something I've always done. So 4 of these, and then you're going to cream it together with your sugar. So it's going to get nice and fluffy and just kind of a real creamy texture to it at this point. Personally, my usual favorite plan on this would be to put the cream cheese in and let it have a go at the mixer for a few minutes. Just kind of start to get that done so it doesn't stick as much to the paddle, but it is going to stick a little bit. And I'll just scrape during that time while it does that, just to kind of get it to a better consistency. But the game plan is to have your cream cheese and your sugar cream together. This one doesn't want to come up. Cream it together so that it has no lumps in it. So you don't want lumps of cream cheese that have not been mixed with your sugar, because that just makes a uneven cheesecake and little weird pockets of cream cheese instead of all together mixed. So very, very easy to do that. So just, if it takes a few minutes extra to cream it together, you just take a couple extra minutes and you make sure it is creamed together just like you plan on it. And that is our fourth one. And our sugar is going to be about 1.5 cups of sugar today. Measure that out, and I add mine a little slower, so I will start it and start putting it in, but then I'll add as I go, so it kind of has a time to mix throughout everything. That is right at 1.5. Go ahead and lock this into place. I'm going to start mixing. Not going to be a very exciting bit of video here, so I may cut some of this, but that's where we're going to be. Now, some people might do this process a little bit faster. I just find, for me, if I do it, take the time to do it, it turns out a lot better texture-wise, and it's just the way I've always done it, so it's probably the way I'll keep doing it. Also, because I know that I can get all of the sugar mixed in if I stop every couple minutes and give it some time to mix for a bit, as well as scrape it from there so that it will mix everything. So that is the last bit of sugar added in. I'm going to stop it one more time, unlock it so I can just pull everything down, because I can see granules of sugar that just need to make sure that I get those added in. I'm going to scrape the sides of my bowl just to make sure that everything has a really good mix on it. And Chuck's going to give me grief because I just tapped the side of the bowl. I always do that, and that apparently drives him crazy. So found that out recently. It's just always been something I do. It's easy to get what you need done when you tap the side bowl with it. So I'll add this a little bit faster, just to pick up speed a little bit. This is going to be nice and creamy. So this is going to probably be a jerky thing, but I'm going to grab this and see if I can't get you a look at this. As you can see, we are mixing. It is nice. It is creamy. I am going to pause the video for a minute so that I can set the camera down and then grab the next ingredient that we will be adding in. Okay, the next ingredient that I'm going to add in is going to be my sour cream, and it actually takes an entire container of sour cream, so it's 8 ounces of sour cream to add in. This has also been out at room temperature. That one I don't find to be as necessary. It's just something that I do when I put everything else out. I like to just get it all out at the same time and get it prepped and ready for when I'm going to do it. So get that added in. All that goodness in the bowl there. And then we are going to also add our heavy cream, which it takes 1 cup of heavy cream. I'd already pre-measured that, so we'll add that as well. Slow that down just a little bit so it mixes better. This also gets 6 eggs as it's being done. So what I like to do is add my 6 eggs one at a time. And for doing that, just so I make sure I don't get shell in it, I usually just crack it into a bowl. Makes it easier to do one at a time. And also to make sure there's absolutely no shell in that bowl. Alright, so next we are going to add 2 tablespoons of flour to this mix. So we are kind of jamming through this. So there's 2 tablespoons of flour. We're also going to get 1 tablespoon of vanilla. There's my vanilla. And then 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Alright, so we've got that in there. We're going to get that all mixed up. I'm going to stop it and scrape the sides in just a second here, just because it needs that. Just to make sure everything is all mixed together. My old KitchenAid did not, I don't remember it having a lock on the side to lock it down. Maybe it did and I just never used it. It's also a possibility. But the one I have here does, and I sometimes forget that I have it locked. So just touch the bottom there with the spatula. Want to make sure everything, because sometimes at the bottom of the bowl it sticks to it and doesn't want to mix as well, so I just like to make sure that's not doing that. Alright, so now I've got everything in here scraped at this point. Scrape that as well. And I'm going to turn it back on and just give it another real quick mix. And then we're just going to be waiting for our crust to be ready for us. Now, I do have the oven heating at 425. This particular cheesecake cooks at 425 for 15 minutes. And then you turn it down to 275 and you cook it for an hour. And then once it's done, you're going to leave it in for 2 hours, where you just let it sit in the oven after you've turned it off. And you wait for it to start cooling down some. And what that does is it gives it time to completely set without you jiggling it and moving it around. Also, it will be in a water bath, so it'll be sitting in hot water in there, just waiting for it to finish gelling and setting together. And once that's done, after the 2 hours, you take it out of the water bath, and I'll take the foil off the sides of the spring form, and we'll see where we are. Alright, so our crust is now chilled, so the game plan is to add slowly the filling to the crust. So I'm going to just start pouring that in. Now once I get this in, I have to let it sit for about 10 minutes, just because it'll just get together and it'll get all even. And I like it better that way, so that is my game plan. Scrape all of this goodness out of here. Now, if you're wondering why I'm using a square cheesecake pan, there actually is a reason. When I make cheesecakes lately, I don't make them so that I can sit and eat a whole cheesecake. I would love to if cheesecake was calorie-free. I would absolutely love to eat an entire cheesecake, I'm sure. Chuck might too, I don't know. But because I make these and then I send them into work with Chuck, it's easier to cut it into pieces for him if we do like squares instead of the normal cheesecake looking slice. So it is in a square pan, just for the easiest way of putting it into containers to take to work to share with his coworkers. So my coworkers will actually be able to enjoy some of this tomorrow night as well. So that is the game plan. So the other thing I probably haven't mentioned yet is I make my cheesecake on one day and then we serve it on the second day. I think the flavors just set in a whole lot better when you let it have the night in the fridge to just kind of sit there and meld all of that goodness into the flavor. So about 24 hours, really overnight is just the most important part of that. So this is going to sit for 5 to 10 minutes and then we will see where we're at. Alrighty, so we are ready. It's been 5 to 10 minutes. I've actually gotten all of my dishes done, which is awesome, and cleaned up. So that means that while it's baking, I have time to spend with the puppies. Yay! They have been in the floor, you haven't noticed, but they have been in here bothering me because they want to be in the kitchen with me whenever I'm cooking, which is a good and a bad thing because tripping over dogs is no fun. Alright, so it is in my pan that I have to maneuver to get into our oven. So unfortunately, this is not my favorite setup, but because we have a oven that is just a convection oven as well as like a toaster oven, but it's a countertop oven basically, because the oven in Korea was just weird. It has like a spinny rotating thing in it. Unfortunately, that doesn't work as well for my baking. So, and you can't turn it off. So it didn't work out as well for me. So we ended up getting that, and that means that I have less space for my extra pan here, but I'm making this work. So this is what my water bath will go in. I'm going to tent it. That is beeping telling me it's ready. I'm going to tent it because I don't want it to brown the top of my cheesecake too fast. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in there, and I tented it so that it did not stick to the top of the cheesecake, which could be a problem. So we're gonna get that put in the oven. I will show you once it's in the oven, and we will see you in a few hours. All right, so we are in the oven now. The water bath, I do heat my water before I put the water bath in. So I heated the water in my kettle and then added it in once I stuck the pan in the oven, because otherwise it is a whole lot of mess pulling it in and out. Hey y'all, welcome back. Today is Thursday, September 27th, so today is officially my birthday. So this morning we will be getting the cheesecake out of the fridge, taking off the springform sides, and checking to make sure that everything looks good with it, textures well, everything is perfect with our cheesecake. I'll be cutting a piece to go with me for lunch because I'm having lunch with my sweetheart today. So I'm going to do that, and I will see you in just a minute as we get the cake out of the fridge. So the cheesecake has been in the fridge overnight. There's my plastic wrap, my aluminum foil. Normally I would have put it in a cake container, but my cake container is round and therefore it does not fit inside of that. So one thing I like to note, if you look at the cheesecake pretty closely here, you'll see that it's already separated from the sides. So I know that it's going to be safe for me to take off the sides. If I had looked and seen that it hadn't, I would have run the knife gently around it first, but it's already done that for me. No cracking. It's got a pretty color to it. I'm pretty excited about that. Take this off. Do this pretty gently because I don't want it to get the cake, but it does actually get a little bit of the cake, but that's not a big deal. So we'll do that. It is actually on parchment paper. It's the best way to do it because it makes it easy to take it off of your springform bottom. So I'm just going to cut. Not very even cut, but that's okay. So this is going to be for Chuck and I to enjoy at lunch. And that's pretty delicious, so I'm excited. I'm going to get that in a container, and I will shoot some video at lunch so you guys can see what his response will be, but I think he's a winner, so we'll see what he thinks. I'll see you in a bit. So, birthday lunch at Casa Burrito with my lunch date for my birthday. Chuck's got a chicken burrito over there. Casa Burrito is like my favorite go-to Mexican place around here. Chuck says kind of Chipotle-like, except they make it for you. You don't get to see it or choose anything. But chicken burrito and chicken chimichanga, cheesecake in the middle. We are going to eat our lunch and then we will taste test the cheesecake.
I the one eating first here?
You are.
Oh, okay.
You're my taste tester, so even though it's my birthday, you have to taste it and make sure it won't kill me.
Yay.
I know. You also have to give me your impressions. Like, how does the Waffle Mate crust hold up to its predecessor, the graham cracker crust? That was a very Korean bite of you.
Good texture. Tastes like a cheesecake.
How's the crust?
Waffle Mate crust works pretty well.
Would you say you prefer the Waffle Mate crust to graham cracker, or?
Depends on the cheesecake.
So for a New York style cheesecake?
With a New York style, I think the Waffle Mate actually works better.
Because it's a little less obvious. And I don't know how else to say it.
It doesn't have that overly buttery taste that the graham cracker one usually winds up with. It's a bit more light of a taste, I guess.
So light tasting. So successful.
Successful.
I like successful. Yay! Now I'm gonna get me some of that. Hey y'all, just got back from lunch at Casa Burrito with my sweetheart. It will probably come as no surprise to my friends and family that I chose to have Mexican for lunch on my birthday because it is my favorite, or one of my favorite foods, and so it's always a good option, Casa Burrito being one of my favorite local places to eat at. So it was a great option and a good lunch. Always enjoy getting to get together with Chuck to have lunch. And just wanted to give you some final thoughts on our Waffle Mate cheesecake. So overall, I was relatively surprised a little bit and impressed with how well it complements the cheesecake. It gives you the perfect amount of texture without overpowering the cheesecake and allowing you to actually enjoy the filling and to really fully get the cheesecakiness, the goodness out of that. So definitely a great option. I'm not sure how well that would do with every cheesecake I do, but with the New York style, it is perfect. I will give you guys the recipe for my New York style cheesecake on our blog. I will post a link to that in the description to check that out. And I will also share some of Chuck's pain and torture of having to be my taste tester for cheesecakes. So I will show you guys some of the pictures. You can see some of the pictures of other cheesecakes I've made. We'll add those to the video for you to see. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. Let us know in the comments what you think. If you have other ideas, you can join Chuck in the challenge for other options of cheesecakes for me to make. So that would be kind of fun. But anyways, let us know. Give us some feedback. We would love to hear from you. And we will see you soon. Have a great day.